8 months pregnant and starving, Sarah knocked on her final door before giving up forever. The wealthy ranch king who answered could have turned her away like everyone else. Instead, he made a decision that would transform a desperate beggar into his beloved daughter and change both their lives completely. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain was falling hard that cold December evening. Sarah walked slowly from house to house, her swollen belly making each step difficult. She was 8 months pregnant and had not eaten for 2 days. Her clothes were torn and wet. Her shoes had holes in them. "Please, can you give me some food?" she asked at the first house. The woman looked at her with disgust and slammed the door shut. Sarah moved to the next house. A man opened the door but shook his head before she could even speak. "No beggars here," he said and closed the door. House after house, door after door, Sarah faced the same rejection. Some people were rude. Some were mean. Others just ignored her completely. Her heart was breaking more with each closed door. The baby in her belly kicked softly as if asking for food. Sarah put her hand on her stomach and whispered, "I'm sorry, little one. Mama is trying her best." Sarah had lost everything 6 months ago. Her husband died in a car accident. The hospital bills took all their savings. She lost her job because she was too sad to work properly. Then she lost her small apartment because she could not pay rent. Now she lived on the streets with nowhere to go. As the night grew darker and colder, Sarah walked to the edge of town. There was one last house at the end of a long road. It was a big house with warm lights glowing in the windows. She could see a beautiful garden and expensive cars in the driveway. "They probably won't help me either," she thought. "Rich people never care about poor people like me." But she was so hungry and tired that she decided to try anyway. This would be her last attempt before giving up completely. Sarah walked up the long driveway. Her legs were shaking from weakness. She reached the front door and knocked softly. She waited, expecting another rejection. The door opened and a tall man with kind eyes appeared. He was about 50 years old with gray hair and a gentle smile. This was David Morrison, the owner of the largest ranch in the state. People called him the Ranch King because he was very successful and wealthy. "Hello," David said softly. "Can I help you?" Sarah was surprised by his gentle voice. Most people had been harsh with her today. "Sir, I'm very sorry to bother you," Sarah began, her voice trembling. "I'm pregnant and haven't eaten in 2 days. Could you please give me some food? I'll work for it if you want." David looked at this young woman standing in the rain. Her clothes were soaked. She was shivering from cold. But what touched his heart most was the way she gently held her pregnant belly, as if protecting her unborn child. "Oh my goodness," David said. "Please come inside right away. You must be freezing." Sarah could not believe what she was hearing. "Really? You want me to come inside?" "Of course," David said, opening the door wider. "No pregnant woman should be out in this weather." Sarah stepped inside the warm house. The contrast from the cold rain outside made her start crying. She had not felt warmth like this in months. "Please sit down," David said, leading her to a comfortable chair near the fireplace. "Let me get you some dry clothes and hot food." David called to his housekeeper, Mrs. Chin, who had worked for him for 20 years. "Mrs. Chin, we have a guest who needs our help. Please prepare some hot soup and find some warm clothes." Mrs. Chin took one look at Sarah and her heart filled with motherly concern. "Oh, you poor dear," she said. "Come with me. Let's get you cleaned up and fed properly." As Sarah ate the warm soup, David sat across from her. He did not ask many questions. He just wanted her to feel safe and comfortable. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Sarah," she replied between spoonfuls of soup. "Sarah Johnson. It's nice to meet you, Sarah. I'm David Morrison. This is my home and you're welcome here." Sarah started crying again. "I don't understand why you're being so kind to me. Everyone else treated me like garbage today." David's heart ached hearing this. "Sarah, every person deserves kindness, especially someone carrying new life. Your baby is a blessing, and you both deserve love and care." As the evening went on, Sarah told David her story. She spoke about losing her husband, her job, and her home. She talked about living on the streets and struggling to survive while pregnant. David listened to every word without judging her. His own heart was breaking for this brave young woman who had faced so much pain. "Sarah," David said when she finished her story, "I have a proposal for you. I live alone in this big house. I have plenty of space and resources. Would you consider staying here until your baby is born?" Sarah was shocked. "I can't do that, sir. I'm a stranger. Why would you help me so much?" David smiled sadly. "Let me tell you my story, Sarah. I was married to a wonderful woman named Elizabeth. We tried for years to have children but we couldn't. Elizabeth always dreamed of being a mother. She died 3 years ago from cancer and I've been alone ever since. Sarah saw tears in David's eyes as he continued. When I saw you tonight, protecting your unborn child despite having nothing, I saw the same motherly love that Elizabeth always had. Maybe this is God's way of bringing us together. You need help and I need purpose in my life again. Sarah was overwhelmed by his generosity. But I can't pay you anything. I have no money. I don't want your money, Sarah. I want to help you and your baby have a good life. That's payment enough for me. That night, Sarah slept in a warm, comfortable bed for the first time in months. She placed her hands on her belly and whispered to her baby, "We're safe now, little one. We found an angel." Over the next few weeks, David and Sarah developed a beautiful friendship. David treated Sarah like family. He took her to the best doctors for checkups. He bought her maternity clothes and books about pregnancy. He even prepared a beautiful nursery for the baby. Sarah, in return, brought life and joy back to David's lonely house. She cooked meals, kept him company, and filled the house with laughter and conversation. David realized he had not been truly happy since Elizabeth died. "You know, Sarah," David said one evening as they sat by the fireplace, "you've given me more than I've given you. You've brought happiness back into my life." Sarah smiled. "You saved my life and my baby's life. I can never repay that kindness." "You already have," David replied. "Just by being here." When Sarah went into labor on a snowy January morning, David was right there with her. He drove her to the hospital and stayed by her side during the entire delivery. When little Emma was born, David held her with tears streaming down his face. "She's perfect, Sarah. Absolutely perfect." Sarah watched David hold her daughter with such love and gentleness. "David, would you like to be Emma's grandfather? She needs a grandfather, and you've already been like a father to me." David was so moved he could barely speak. "I would be honored, Sarah. More honored than you could ever know." From that day forward, David became Grandpa David to little Emma. He spoiled her with love and attention. He taught her to walk in his garden. He read her bedtime stories every night. He was the grandfather Emma needed and the family David had always wanted. As Emma grew, she brought even more joy to their unusual but perfect family. Sarah went back to school with David's support and became a nurse. She wanted to help other people the way David had helped her. David was so proud of Sarah's determination and success. "You see, Sarah? You just needed someone to believe in you. You were always strong and capable." 3 years after that rainy night when they first met, David made an announcement that surprised everyone in town. "I'm officially adopting Sarah as my daughter," he told his friends and neighbors. "She and Emma are my family now. Sarah has become like a daughter to me, and Emma is my precious granddaughter." The adoption ceremony was beautiful. Sarah cried happy tears as she signed the papers that made her officially part of David's family. "Now you're Sarah Morrison," David said, hugging her tightly. "You're no longer alone in this world. You have a father who loves you and will always be here for you." Sarah looked at this man who had changed her entire life. "You didn't just give me food that night, David. You gave me hope, love, and a family. You made me your queen mother, just like you promised." David smiled, remembering how he had jokingly called her his queen mother when she first started taking care of his house and bringing joy to his life. "And you made me a father and grandfather," David replied. "We completed each other's family." Years passed and their bond only grew stronger. Sarah became known throughout the community for her kindness to others in need. She often brought homeless people to David's ranch, and together they helped many families get back on their feet. "We have to help others the way you helped me," Sarah would tell David. "Kindness should always be passed forward." David was amazed by Sarah's generous heart. Despite everything she had been through, she never became bitter or selfish. Instead, she used her experience to help others with compassion and understanding. Emma grew up surrounded by love from both her mother and grandfather. She was a happy, confident child who understood the value of kindness and generosity. "Grandpa David," Emma said one day when she was 7 years old, "tell me again about the night you and Mommy first met." David smiled and pulled Emma onto his lap. "Well, it was a very cold, rainy night. Your mommy was alone and scared, but she was also the bravest person I had ever met." "Why was she brave?" Emma asked. "Because even though she had nothing, she never gave up on you. She kept going because she loved you so much even before you were born." Emma hugged her grandfather tightly. "I'm glad you saved Mommy and me. Actually, sweetie, your mommy saved me too. Before she came, I was lonely and sad. She brought happiness back to my life. On Emma's 10th birthday, David made another special announcement. He was leaving his entire ranch and fortune to Sarah and Emma. "This ranch has been in my family for generations," David said. "Now Sarah is my family, so it belongs to her and Emma. They are my legacy." Sarah was overwhelmed. "David, this is too much. I can't accept all of this. Sarah, you've been the daughter I never had. Emma is the granddaughter I always dreamed of. This ranch needs to stay in the family, and you are my family." The whole community celebrated this decision. Everyone had watched Sarah transform from a desperate woman on the streets to a beloved member of the community. They had seen how David had found new purpose and joy through his love for Sarah and Emma. "It's the most beautiful love story we've ever seen," said Mrs. Chin, who had watched their relationship grow from the very beginning. "Not romantic love but family love. The love between a father and daughter and a grandfather and granddaughter." Sarah often thought about that terrible night when she had walked from door to door, facing rejection and cruelty. It seemed like a lifetime ago. "If all those people hadn't rejected me," she told David one evening, "I might never have found my way to your door." "Everything happens for a reason," David replied. "We were meant to find each other. We were meant to be family." As Sarah tucked Emma into bed that night, her daughter asked, "Mommy, are we rich now?" Sarah thought for a moment. "Yes, sweetheart, we are very rich. Not just because of money but because we have love, family, and kindness in our hearts." "And we have Grandpa David," Emma added. "Yes," Sarah smiled. "We have Grandpa David and he has us. We're all rich in the ways that really matter." David stood in the doorway listening to this conversation. His heart was full of gratitude for the day that rainy night had brought Sarah to his door. The woman who had once begged for food door to door was now the queen of one of the largest ranches in the state. But more importantly, she was surrounded by love and had become a beacon of hope for others in need. Sarah had learned that sometimes our darkest moments lead us to our greatest blessings. That cold, rainy night when she thought she had lost everything was actually the night she gained everything that truly mattered. And David had learned that sometimes the greatest gifts come in unexpected packages. The desperate pregnant woman at his door had brought him more joy and purpose than all his wealth ever could. Their story became legendary in the community. People would tell their children about the ranch king who opened his heart to a stranger and found his family. They would talk about the brave mother who never gave up and became a queen through kindness and love. Years later, when people asked Sarah what the secret to happiness was, she would always give the same answer. Kindness. Always choose kindness even when the world has been cruel to you. Love always finds a way to multiply when you share it with others. And when they asked David how he knew Sarah was meant to be his family, he would smile and say, "Sometimes God sends angels to our door disguised as people in need. The trick is being wise enough to recognize them and brave enough to open your heart." Their story proved that families are not always born from blood, but sometimes from love, kindness, and the courage to care for strangers as if they were your own. Sarah, who had once been a starving mother-to-be begging door to door, had indeed become a queen mother, not through marriage to a king, but through the royal treatment of love, respect, and family that David had given her. And David, the ranch king, had found his greatest treasure not in his vast lands or wealth, but in the love of a daughter and granddaughter who had chosen him to be their family. Their love story continued to inspire everyone who heard it, proving that sometimes the most beautiful endings come from the most difficult beginnings.